Every morning, as sunlight filters through the window of my small apartment, I ask myself, when will I finally start living for myself? My name is Elizabeth. I'm 35 years old, living in New York. On paper, I have a stable life, a good job in marketing, a cozy little apartment in the city. But in reality, I've never had a life of my own. Since childhood, I've learned to live in my sister's shadow. In my parents' eyes, Kate was the golden child, the perfect daughter, the ideal wife, and now the wonderful mother of two twin boys. And me? I was nothing more than a backup plan for the family. I had no priority. I had no right to refuse. I had no choice. The perfect sister, the forgotten one. Every weekend, I became a free babysitter for Kate. Her twin sons, Ethan and Noah, were practically dropped off at my place by default. At first, it was just for a few hours, but gradually it became an entire day, then the whole weekend. I was used to Kate's calls, her voice always sweet but full of expectation. "Liz, sweetheart, I just need a little time for myself. You don't mind watching the boys for a bit, do you?" I minded. But how could I say no when even my mother pressured me? "Elizabeth, you can't be selfish. You don't have a husband, you don't have kids, so what could possibly be more important than family?" I had heard this over and over for 35 years. Family comes first. But when will I come first in my own life? Jack, the man who wasn't mine. Jack, Kate's husband, was too perfect. At 43, he had it all: a stable career, a strong presence, a picture-perfect family. But there was one thing no one else seemed to notice. Jack wasn't happy. Years of marriage to Kate had turned him into the ideal husband, the devoted father. But behind closed doors, Jack carried a quiet emptiness he couldn't shake. I knew it. I felt it. At first, we were just friendly in passing conversations. But over time, the way he looked at me was no longer the way a brother-in-law looks at his wife's sister. His touches were no longer accidental. Our conversations became longer, more intimate. His gaze lingered longer than necessary. Desire. It came slowly, subtly, creeping in like a spark waiting to ignite. A call that changed everything. That night, I was lying on my couch after a long day at work. My phone buzzed. His name appeared on the screen. Jack. My heart skipped a beat. Jack had never called me this late. I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Liz, are you busy?" There was something unfamiliar in his voice, something off. "Jack, is everything okay? I just needed to talk to someone who wouldn't judge." Silence. I didn't ask anything. I just held the phone, listening to the sound of his breathing. Then he said something that told me things would never be the same again. "Liz, have you ever felt trapped in your own life?" That question wasn't just for him. It was for me too. "Liz, have you ever felt trapped in your own life?" Jack's words hung in the quiet night, like a crack forming on the surface of solid ice. I didn't know how to answer, because I'd been trapped my entire life. Trapped in expectations. Trapped in the role of the perfect sister, the obedient daughter, the reliable woman who never says no. But tonight, maybe I wasn't the only one who felt this way. "Jack, what's going on?" I asked, my voice softer than usual. "I don't know. Jack sighed heavily, a sound so quiet yet full of exhaustion. "I feel tired, drained, like I'm living a life that doesn't belong to me." I bit my lip. I shouldn't dig deeper. I shouldn't entertain these thoughts. But there was something in his voice, something that resonated deeply within me. "I understand. Do you really?" Jack let out a dry chuckle, but there was no humor in it. "You're the only one who does, Liz." My heart tightened. This is how it starts, isn't it? Not with touches, not with stolen glances, but with understanding. A long silence stretched between us. Neither of us spoke, but we were both thinking the same thing. If I meet him now, everything will change. If I step out of my apartment and go to Jack, there will be no going back. And then, Jack broke the silence. "Liz, can we meet?" The secret meeting. I should have said no. I needed to say no, but I didn't. "Where?" I asked, my palms sweaty. Jack mentioned a place, a small, quiet bar tucked away in a street no one we knew would ever go to. I had 1,000 reasons not to go, but I only needed one reason to grab my keys and leave my apartment. When I arrived, Jack was already there. He stood by the window, staring out at the bustling city below. When he turned around and saw me, his eyes said everything his lips hadn't yet spoken. No longer the look of a brother-in-law, no longer a man suppressing his feelings. It was desire, temptation. We couldn't resist. I sat next to him, my breathing unsteady. I didn't know what I was doing here, but I also didn't want to leave. Jack didn't speak immediately. He simply poured me a glass of wine, his gaze never leaving mine. Finally, he spoke. "I've never done this before, Liz." "Done what?" "Wanting something I shouldn't want." I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding so hard, I feared he could hear it. "Jack, I think we shouldn't be here." "I know." He smirked slightly, but his eyes were dark. "But you still came." I had no excuse. The wine made things easier. A little blurred judgment, a little boldness I never had before. We talked, but neither of us was really listening. We drank, but not to enjoy the taste of the wine. We stared, and in that gaze, we both knew we had already lost the battle against temptation, crossing the line. When I stood up to leave, Jack stood up too. No one spoke, no one needed to. We both knew what was about to happen next. As we stepped outside, Jack grabbed my wrist. That first touch, just his fingers wrapping around my skin, felt like electricity surging through me. I didn't pull away. Jack led me into the dark alley behind the bar. I told myself this is where I should stop, but I didn't. Jack pressed me against the wall, his breath warm against my skin. "I shouldn't do this," Jack whispered, his voice husky. "Then don't," I whispered back, but he didn't stop. His lips crashed into mine, and at that moment, all the tension, all the restraint, shattered into a million pieces. A kiss rushed, desperate, burning with everything we had held back for too long. And God, I had craved this for far too long. That kiss shouldn't have happened. It was fueled by years of suppression, stolen glances, fleeting touches that had lingered just a second too long. And now, in the dark alley behind the bar, everything had exploded into flames. Jack pinned me against the wall, his hands gripping my waist as if letting go would mean losing me forever. His breath was heavy, urgent, filled with the desire he had kept buried for far too long. "Liz," Jack whispered against my lips. I should have said something. I should have stopped this. But the truth was, I didn't want to. I had wanted this for so long. A temptation too strong. Jack looked at me, his eyes dark, filled with something I couldn't ignore anymore. I could see the struggle within him. He wanted me, but he knew he shouldn't. And I felt the same. Jack slowly traced his fingers along my jaw, a touch so delicate, yet so dangerous. I closed my eyes, feeling my entire body tremble under the weight of what was happening. "Do you want me to stop?" I couldn't lie. No, a fire that couldn't be contained. The moment I said it, Jack didn't hesitate anymore. He pulled me into another kiss, this time slower, deeper, like he wanted to memorize the taste of me, the feel of me, everything about this moment. His hands slid down my waist, gripping my hips as if he had been starving for this touch for years. Clothes were pushed aside in the heat of the moment. Nothing was gentle, nothing was patient. We didn't need patience. We didn't need caution. We only needed each other. I moaned softly as Jack pressed his body against mine, his lips trailing down my neck, leaving a trail of fire in their wake. There was no turning back now. The aftermath. When it was over, I lay next to Jack, my breath still uneven, my heart still racing in my chest. Jack turned toward me, brushing a strand of hair from my face. His expression was a mix of satisfaction and guilt. "This can't last forever," he murmured. I knew that, but that didn't stop me from wanting him again. Jack kissed my forehead, then whispered, "But I can't stop." I looked at him, my fingers tracing the face of a man I was never supposed to have. "Neither can I." And with that, our affair officially began. After that night, everything changed. Not just because I had slept with Jack, my sister's husband, but because I didn't feel guilty about it. I should have. I was supposed to. But all I felt was an insatiable hunger for more. We had crossed the line, and now there was no turning back. Playing our roles perfectly. In front of Kate, I was still Elizabeth, the responsible, loyal sister. In front of my parents, I was still the devoted daughter who always put family first. But in private, when Jack and I were alone, I was something else entirely. I was the woman he craved. I was his biggest secret. The secret meetings. Jack and I couldn't meet too often, but when we did, it was like fire consuming us whole. Midnight texts that made my body shiver. A lingering touch when we sat too close at family dinners. Stolen moments in hotel rooms where we'd barely get through the door before tearing each other apart. Every time I told myself, this will be the last time. But the moment Jack touched me, kissed me, pressed me against a wall in some hidden corner of the world, I forgot every promise I made to myself. We were reckless, we were addicted, and we were playing with fire. Almost caught everything was going smoothly, until the day we nearly got caught. Jack had come over to my apartment. We had barely made it through the front door before he pinned me against it, his hands sliding under my clothes, his lips devouring me. We were so lost in each other we didn't hear the doorbell ring, a sharp, loud ding-dong that made my heart stop. Jack and I froze. The passion was instantly replaced by terror. "Who is it?" Jack whispered, his voice tight with panic. I slowly walked to the door, peeking through the peephole, and my stomach dropped. Kate. She was standing outside, holding a bag of groceries. A dangerous game. I sucked in a breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Liz, are you home?" Kate knocked harder. Jack stood behind me, shirtless, breathless, eyes wild with fear. I turned to him, whispering, "Go to the bedroom, now." Jack didn't argue. He disappeared into my room, shutting the door behind him. I took another deep breath, smoothed out my clothes, and opened the door. "Kate, what a surprise." I forced a smile. Kate tilted her head, studying me. "I was just passing by and thought I'd drop off some pastries. I know you love these." I smiled tightly, nodding, but I could feel sweat forming at the back of my neck. Kate's eyes flicked behind me, scanning the apartment. And then, her gaze landed on something. I followed her eyes, and my blood ran cold. Jack's jacket. It was draped over my couch, in plain sight. Kate narrowed her eyes. Jack was here? The moment of danger. I felt like I was about to suffocate. If I panicked, she would know something was wrong. I had to lie. But make it believable. I forced a casual laugh, pretending not to care. "Oh yeah, he dropped by earlier. He forgot his jacket when he took the kids to school this morning, so he came to pick it up." Kate stared at me. Her gaze was too sharp, too suspicious. But then, she slowly nodded. All right. I exhaled discreetly, my pulse still racing. She bought it. But I realized then, we had been too careless. Just one small mistake, one moment of carelessness, and everything would come crashing down. A warning sign. After Kate left, I collapsed against the door, exhaling sharply. Jack came out of the bedroom, his face still pale. "That was too close," he whispered. I looked at him, my heart still hammering in my chest. "We need to be more careful." Jack nodded, but in his eyes, I saw something else. Not fear, not regret, but addiction. We had gone too deep, and neither of us wanted to stop. I thought that after almost getting caught, Jack and I would slow down. I thought that fear would make us more cautious. But I was wrong, because danger didn't stop us. It only made everything more thrilling. A game we couldn't stop playing. We couldn't stop. We didn't want to stop. Before, our affair had been careful, hidden in secrecy. But now, it escalated into something even more dangerous. Jack started texting me even when Kate was in the same room. We had sex in his car, parked in a dark alley, with the fear of being caught making everything even more intense. We met even when Kate was home, with Jack pretending to run errands just to steal a few minutes with me. Every time, I felt the guilt creeping in. But the second Jack put his hands on me, I forgot everything. I was addicted to him, and Jack was addicted to me, risking it all at Kate's house. Things went too far one Saturday afternoon. Kate invited me over for a small family gathering, a chance for all of us to play our perfect roles. I played the sweet little sister. Jack played the devoted husband. Kate suspected nothing. But everything changed the moment Jack and I locked eyes in the kitchen. His gaze was hungry, desperate, burning with unspoken words. When Kate left the room to check on the kids, Jack grabbed me. "I can't take this anymore." He whispered against my ear, his breath hot against my skin. I barely had time to react. Jack pulled me into a dark corner where if Kate came back too soon, she would see everything. His lips found my neck, his hands gripping my waist. "Jack, stop." Kate could come back any second. I tried to push him away, but his grip tightened, his mouth brushing against my jaw. "Just for a moment," he whispered. And God help me, I didn't push him away. But then, "Liz, can you help me for a second?" Kate's voice rang out from the hallway. Jack jumped back, but his eyes never left mine. I quickly fixed my clothes, took a deep breath, and walked out as if nothing had happened. But we both knew. Jack knew. And if we kept going like this, Kate would know too. The breaking point. I tried to pull away from Jack. I tried to distance myself, but Jack didn't let me. One night, while I was alone in my apartment, the doorbell rang. When I opened it, Jack was standing there. Rain poured down his face, his shirt was drenched, and his eyes were burning with desperation. "I can't do this anymore." His voice was raw, broken. I tried to push him away. I tried to tell him we needed to stop. But Jack grabbed my face and kissed me like a man who was drowning. And I let him. The door slammed shut behind us. And just like that, we drowned in each other once again. The price of forbidden love. After that night, I realized something. We had completely lost control. Jack no longer feared being caught. He would risk anything just to be with me. I no longer fought my feelings. I wanted him as much as he wanted me. And if Kate found out, everything would be destroyed. But the scariest part? I didn't want to stop. Jack didn't want to stop. We were playing a deadly game. And now, it was time to pay the price. Jack and I were no longer careful. No longer worried about the consequences. No longer afraid of being caught. We had crossed so many lines that there were no lines left to cross. A dangerous addiction. Every touch. Every stolen glance. Every whispered, "I need you," when he thought no one else was listening. It was a high we couldn't resist. Jack started calling me in the middle of the night, just to hear my voice. We snuck away at family gatherings, finding dark corners to steal moments of passion. He would leave work early, making up excuses, just to see me for a few desperate hours. The more forbidden it was, the more we craved it. But every high comes with a crash, and ours was coming faster than we realized. The night everything changed. It was just another night, or at least that's what I thought. Jack came to my apartment after lying to Kate about working late. We barely made it inside before his hands were tearing at my clothes, his mouth devouring mine like he was starving. Everything felt urgent, reckless, out of control. Then the doorbell rang. We both froze. Jack's eyes widened in panic. "Who is that?" His voice was barely above a whisper. I grabbed my robe, heart pounding in my chest, and walked to the door. I looked through the peephole, and my stomach dropped. Kate. A moment of fear. I turned back to Jack, my voice shaking. "It's Kate." Jack cursed under his breath, running a hand through his hair. "What do we do?" I took a deep breath, trying to think fast. "Go to the bedroom. Stay quiet. I'll handle it." Jack didn't argue. He disappeared into the bedroom, closing the door silently behind him. I opened the door, forcing a fake, easy smile. "Kate, what are you doing here?" Kate studied me for a moment. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd drop by." I laughed, pretending not to feel the sweat forming on the back of my neck. "Oh, you should have called first. I was just about to get in bed." Kate narrowed her eyes, her gaze shifting behind me. "Are you alone?" My heart nearly stopped. I nodded too quickly. "Yeah, of course." Kate glanced around the apartment. Then her eyes landed on something that made my blood run cold. Jack's watch, sitting on my coffee table. Suspicion grows. Kate's face changed. "That's Jack's watch." Her voice was eerily calm. I couldn't breathe. I had to think fast. Yeah. He, dropped it off earlier. He needed me to fix the strap." Kate didn't say anything. She just stared at me like she could see right through the lie. Finally, she exhaled sharply. "All right, I should go." I nodded, forcing another fake smile. "Yeah, we'll talk later." Kate walked away. But something told me she knew. Jack's fearless desire. When I closed the door, I collapsed against it, letting out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Jack walked out of the bedroom, his face still tense. "That was too close," he muttered. I looked at him, my chest still rising and falling rapidly. "We need to stop." Jack's expression darkened. "You don't mean that." He stepped closer, hands gripping my waist. "Tell me you don't want this." I opened my mouth to say it. But when Jack's lips brushed against my neck, I forgot every reason why we should stop. And I pulled him back into me, because stopping was no longer an option. The final warning. I should have known Kate wouldn't let it go. The next morning, she texted me, "We need to talk." And that's when I knew. She had figured it out. The game was over. And now, we had to face the consequences. Jack and I were no longer just reckless. We were doomed. We had pushed our luck too far. We had ignored every warning sign. And now Kate knew. The confrontation. The moment I saw Kate sitting across from me at the cafe, I knew this wasn't just a casual meeting. Her expression was too calm, too controlled, like someone holding back a storm. I sat down, my heart pounding. Kate folded her hands on the table, her eyes locking onto mine. "I want you to tell me the truth, Liz." My stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" I forced a small laugh, pretending I didn't know exactly what she was talking about. Kate didn't blink. "Are you sleeping with my husband?" There it was, the moment of truth. I could lie, I could deny everything. But Kate wasn't stupid. She already knew. Her asking wasn't about getting an answer, it was about watching me fall apart trying to deny it. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. And that was all she needed. Kate exhaled sharply, shaking her head in disbelief. "How long?" she asked, her voice cold. I swallowed hard. "Kate, How? Long?" she repeated, her jaw tightening. I closed my eyes. "A few months?" Kate let out a bitter laugh, leaning back in her chair like she had just heard the most ridiculous joke in the world. "Jesus Christ, Liz, my own sister." The breaking point. I wanted to explain. I wanted to say it wasn't planned, that I never meant for this to happen. But what excuse could I possibly give? That I couldn't stop myself? That I had been so desperate for something that felt real. Kate's eyes were filled with pure betrayal. You disgust me. Her words hit harder than I expected. I had known this moment would come. I had braced myself for the fallout. But nothing could prepare me for losing my sister forever. You didn't just betray me, Liz. Her voice trembled. You destroyed our family. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Kate, I'm sorry. You're sorry? She scoffed. You think that changes anything? I said nothing, because she was right. Nothing could undo what I had done. The aftermath. The fallout was swift and brutal. Kate threw Jack out of the house the same night. She told our parents everything, and they completely cut me off. Every mutual friend we had turned against me. Jack tried to reach out to me, but I ignored him. Because for the first time since this all started, I realized the truth. Jack and I were never in love. We were in love with the thrill. And now that the thrill was gone, all that remained was ruin. Goodbye, Jack. Jack called me a week later. Liz, can we meet? I almost hung up. But part of me wanted closure. We met at a small park. He looked like hell. Tired, broken, his usual confidence completely shattered. For the first time since this all began, Jack looked as lost as I felt. I don't know what to do, he admitted, running a hand through his hair. I lost everything. I sighed, staring at the ground. We did this to ourselves, Jack. He looked at me, his expression pleading. We can still be together. No, that was the moment I knew. We had already destroyed enough. There was no future for us, only regrets. Goodbye, Jack. I walked away without looking back. And for the first time in months, I finally felt free. Starting over. I left the city. I had no choice. I had burned every bridge behind me. I moved to a new town, got a new job, and started over. But the scars remained. Some nights, I wake up, my chest heavy with the weight of my mistakes. Some wounds never heal. Some betrayals never fade. But I made a choice. I would never let desire destroy me again. The price of passion. After that day, everything fell apart. There was no one left on my side. No way to turn back. I lost my family. I lost Jack. And worst of all, I lost myself. The inevitable consequences. Kate never forgave me. After discovering the truth, she cut all contact with me. My parents refused to look at me. They said I was a disgrace to the family, that I had ruined Kate's life. Our mutual friends turned their backs on me. I didn't blame them. I knew I deserved it. Jack found himself trapped in a bitter divorce battle. Kate wasn't going to let him walk away easily. And the worst part? 2 innocent children, Ethan and Noah, lost their father. And that was what hurt me the most. Jack and I. A love that was never meant to last. I once believed that if we got caught, Jack would choose me. That we would start over somewhere new. That everything we did would be worth it. But I was wrong. A week after Kate filed for divorce, Jack called me. I need to see you. We met at a small cafe, but Jack was no longer the man I once knew. He was thinner, exhausted, and his eyes were filled with nothing but regret. I can't do this anymore. I had seen it coming, but hearing him say it out loud still crushed me. We ruined everything, Liz. I can't look at my sons without seeing the disgust in their eyes. I can't look at Kate without feeling like a piece of shit. Jack hesitated, his gaze empty, his voice hollow. And most of all, he paused before looking straight into my eyes. I don't feel anything for you anymore. His words were a knife straight to my heart. I thought I would cry. I thought I would beg him to stay. But I did none of that. Because deep down, I felt the same. Our love was never real. It was nothing but desire, secrecy, addiction. And once all of that was stripped away, it became nothing. Goodbye, Liz, Jack said before walking away. I watched him go. I didn't chase after him. I didn't cry. I just felt an endless emptiness inside me. And that was the last time I ever saw Jack. Starting over from nothing. I left the city. I couldn't stay, not in a place where everyone knew what I'd done. I moved to a different town, rented a small apartment, and started over. But this time, I was completely alone. No family, no friends, no love. Just me and the weight of my mistakes. A torment that never ends. Some nights, I wake up drenched in sweat, feeling like I can't breathe. I remember Kate's eyes, the look of betrayal and hatred. I remember 2 innocent children. Children who lost their father because of me. And worst of all, I realized that I will never be able to forgive myself. Desire made me lose everything, and the price I paid was a life of never-ending emptiness. An unhappy ending every day. I try to keep going. But living doesn't mean I'm truly alive. I don't know how much longer I can continue like this, but there's one thing I know for sure. Sometimes love is not destiny. It is destruction.